Hello everyone, welcome back to SAP Insights, your trusted SAP learning channel. Today's session, I'd like to go through the step-by-step material return scenario with quality management integration with you. Before we begin, please do like my video and subscribe to my channel as a form of encouragement for me in producing more quality video to help you and the community. Your like and subscription is a big motivation to me. Thank you. Now let us get started by me setting up the scene and the business requirement. Now often, after a material is delivered to the warehouse, inspection will be carried out. If the material failed quality inspection check, the batch will be set to restricted status and the material status will also be set to block. Warehouse personnel will work with the buyer from the procurement team to then determine if a return to the supplier shall be done and if a return delivery shall be posted. Now this video is a step-by-step to show you how a material that is managed under the inventory management module, demonstrating how a return delivery will be posted. Now if the material is managed through the extended warehouse management module, the steps will be different and it will be covered in a different video. Now as shown in this streamline diagram, this process involves 5 different parties. There are 4 internal roles and 1 external role. We have the buyer, purchase order approver, the external vendor, the warehouse personnel, and quality personnel who will be involved in this end-to-end process. This swim lane is intended to show you an overview on how all these steps connect to each other to help you with a better understanding before we start with the detail screen. Now allow me to walk you through all these 11 steps so that it gives you a better idea. Now in step number 1, we will need a purchase order to be created. And a purchase order can be created in so many ways. It can come from a PR flip into a purchase order, or it can be a standalone purchase order that's created directly. For this example, we go straight with the PO creation, all right? And after that, it goes to the purchase order approval. And after it's been approved, then the purchase order gets automatically transmitted to the external vendor. Okay. And after the vendor receives the purchase order, he or she will review the PO to look at the quantities, to look at the delivery dates if they can meet the deliveries that you have requested. So offline conversation or communication will be done with the buyer, right, to come into a consensus on the delivery date and also the quantity. And once that is achieved, then the buyer will then update back into the purchase order with on the order confirmation with the confirmation category of A, B, quantity, and also the delivery date. All right. And then on step number 7, that's where the supplier will then be shipping out the material. Okay. Most of the time, supplier, once they ship out the materials, they also inform the buyer or the warehouse team, right? In the form of ASN or providing them with their area view to notify them about the material, which the tracking numbers and also shipment that is in. And based on that, the warehouse can then create the inbound delivery document. Okay. Now, at step number 8, when they create an inbound delivery document, that is not the receipt of the material set. That inbound delivery creation is based on the ASN or area view that was sent by the supplier. On step number 9, right, that's where the warehouse updates the IBD document again, and that is when the material finally arrives to the warehouse, and that is where the batch related information about the material will be captured and finally posting the good receive, which will then have the accounting being generated into the system. And of course, for this scenario, we build it with the integration with quality management, and that's why you see that quality personnel is involved, because as soon as we do the posting of the good receive, the inspection log will be created automatically, okay, and the material will be posted into the quality inspection status, all right, and then now quality personnel will then do the quality inspection and record their usage decision on this material and batch through the QA32 transaction code. Now this usage decision will have likely two outcomes. It's either you accept the material or you reject the material. All right. Now for any rejection of the material, the outcome from the usage decision, if it's on the rejection, you'll post the material to block status, okay, and also updating the batch to a restricted status. All right, and then warehouse can run the report on all the materials that is in the block status, that denotes problem on these batches that they will trigger them for a return delivery. Okay, now of course, quality personnel, they can post materials into unrestricted status as well, because perhaps they are examining on the content of the material, and even on the unrestricted status, because the content is fit to use, but physically if the material is damaged, warehouse can still post the return delivery through the Migo steps as well. All right, now we'll go through the subsequent screen on this end-to-end process. How does this look like in the real SAP system? Okay, so like what we said earlier, we need to have a purchase order created. Now this purchase order is being created already. Then followed by a release or approval of the purchase order itself. Now in most organizations, either a purchase requisition or purchase order needs to be approved or released before it gets transmitted to a supplier. Most of the design I've seen, we have release strategies set up at the purchase rack level, and once that is approved, it gets automatically flipped into a purchase order through a batch job. Now, I've also seen organizations who do not set up approval at the PR level and go straight to the purchase order level. So it's really depending on the design or the preference of the organization. What I've not really seen is that we have approval at both documents, at the PR and also the PO, because that's kind of like repeating or creating more overheads on the review process. Now for this scenario, I'm showing you a release strategy that is at the purchase order level, where it is routed to the respective approval band based on the purchase order value. In actual business, the release of this purchase order will be done through my inbox through the Fiori app. And again, for this recording purposes, I'm showing you how we are releasing this purchase order through the backend, which is through the ME29N steps. Okay, so you're going to get this approval box under the release strategy tabs over here, and simply click on this tick a checkbox, and that's where the system will turn it to release. Now the other thing I want you to pay attention or take note is the master data that we set up here. All right, like what I mentioned earlier, this scenario is demonstrating an integration with the quality management module, which means this material in the material master will set it up to always be subjected for quality inspection whenever we have a procurement on it. All right, and because of that, the stock type will always be shown as quality inspection in this for this scenario. All right. Now, post approval of the purchase order is transmitted to the supplier. Now, we will be performing the order acknowledgement on this purchase order. For more advanced organization, order acknowledgement can come directly into your system through interface from supplier system, such as the Ariba. For a mid-size organization, this is usually a manual process where buyer picks up phone calls with the supplier to confirm the order or the delivery date, the quantity, and after the confirmation, this information is captured in the purchase order confirmation screen with the confirmation category AB. Okay, and on the same time, the buyer will also update the delivery dates, the quantity, as well as the reference number for future reference purposes. Okay. Now, in case if there's changes on the delivery date, the recommendation is always for the buyer to update also the line item delivery date together with the AB confirmation delivery dates over here, so that the supplier will get a change order, a revised purchase order with the agreed delivery date to avoid any other disputes. Okay. In this screen, we are looking at the inbound delivery document creation. We create the inbound delivery document when the supplier ships out the material. And this will be based on the airway bill or the ASN information that the supplier provides to you. Okay, and that's where the delivery date and the external ID, it's where we use to keep track of the airway bill number for future reference purposes. Now, after we hit on the enter in the VL31N screen for the inbound delivery creation, this screen will be shown. All right. So what we do here is that we will select this line item and then we hit on the batch creation button. Okay. Now, once you hit on the batch creation button, this screen will appear. All right. And here you have the batch field, the expiry date field, the country of origin field, etc. So the batch field will be automatically generated because it's an internal number. All right. The expiry date, the country of origin, these are usually not entered at this stage because at this point you only have the airway bill information, where the supplier only inform you about what are the materials that they are shipped out in various batches, and what will the date that is planned to arrive, and what is the tracking number. Okay, so later you will see in the VL32N screen, right, where the goods finally arrive to the warehouse, and that's where the warehouse will be entering these other information. Okay, so for now you will be checking the tick box. Now, as soon as you click on the checkbox button, the system creates an internal batch, and that is why the batch field now is being populated with a respective batch number, which is internally generated by the system. Okay, and now you can save this document and the IBD document number will be generated. Now when you go back to the purchase order screen, under the confirmation tab now, you'll see the LA category, confirmation category gets created, and the IBD number is also populated over here. Hence, for anyone who likes to know the status of this purchase order, they can always come to this display screen and click on the confirmation tab. And if they see the AB confirmation category, they know that this purchase order on the delivery dates and the quantity, this information has already been confirmed by the supplier. Now, if they see the LA confirmation category gets generated, they know that the supplier has already shipped out the materials and it's on its way to the designated location. Confirmation is not a mandatory design in SAP, but if confirmation is not used, for anyone who needs to find out such statuses, they can only reach out to the buyer, which is going to be a fairly manual and time-consuming process. Now, when the goods finally arrive to the warehouse personnel will then perform an update to the IBD document that was created earlier. And this will be done through the VL32N transaction code. So what they will do is that they will select the line item, all right, and then they click on the magnifying glass at the bottom left. And that will bring them to this screen, right? And then now they'll go to the material tab and provide the information of the SLED for this batch of materials that's incoming. All right. Now for some companies, you will also like to capture the country of origin. Then you go to the international trade tab and provide the country of origin information over here. Now after entering all the information and the warehouse confirm that it's all correct and accurate, then they'll hit on this post good receive button, which then the system will create a material document in the backend. And then now when you go back to the purchase order screen, right, under the purchase order history tab, you'll be able to see these material documents that created through this IBD. All right. And now you double click on this material document to look at the accounting posting that is involved. So once you hit into the accounting document, the material document, it brings up to the material document display screen, and then we have to click on this FI document button, right? And this screen will appear, and that's where you'll be selecting this row to look into the details of the accounting documents. Now for any good receive that is done in the system, by default, right, the system will post a debit entry into the inventory and credit into the GIIR account. The material master that we set up in this example is actually a non-valued material, which we want to keep track of the inventory, the quantity of the material, but not the value. Okay, and there's a lot of reason why you want to set up a non-validated material. We can debate about it, but the most common reason is because for this context, the warehouse, the operations want to keep track of the quantity itself, because there is a inspection element that they want to track using the system, and therefore the quantity they want to manage it into the system. Okay. Now because this material we have set up for quality inspection, and if you still remember when we create a purchase order under the delivery tab, the stock type is by default automatically point to the quality inspection stock. All right. So, and therefore when we do the good receive to the IBD, inspection lots gets created automatically. Okay, and that's where you can click on this inspection lot button over here, which will then bring up to this inspection lot information. All right. Now then the quality engineer will then perform the inspection on this material, on this batch of material. Okay, they will need to provide their user's decision, okay, whether this material is acceptable to be used or this material is not fit for usage. and therefore it needs to be rejected. So they'll perform a usage decision through the QA32 steps, QA32 transaction codes. And once they put in the information of the material and the batch, this screen will appear. And what they'll do is that they'll click on this usage decision button. Now, after the quality engineer, they have examined the material, and if they find that the material is unfit for the usage, they can post all the material quantity to a block stock. All right. In real life, some of this material will be posted to the sample consumption sample, okay, and the remaining will go into unrestricted if they are fit for usage. For our scenario today, since we want to look at return of the material, we just simply put everything to block. Okay, it can also be 1 quantity to consumption and 9 quantity to block. No issue on that, but here we are putting all to 10 quantity to block as part of the usage decision outcome. So after entering the block quantity, then we come back to these characteristic screens, and we'll go to this usage decision, and then you do you select the UD code. Okay, so in this case we're going to select rejected as a usage decision code to denote that we will not be accepting this batch of material. All right, now when we pull up a material to be rejected, the batch status will also be updated to restricted automatically. Okay, so please take note of this. Batch status will be in restricted status, and because on the earlier screen we put up a 10 quantity to put into block stock, and therefore now the material status will be at the batch level will be at the restricted status, and at the mature level it will be at the stock type will be at the block status. Okay. Now, upon saving the results for this inspection log, the digital signature screen appear as for the quality personnel to sign and confirm their posting. This is important to ensure the integrity of the data, and the quality engineer is accountable for the information that is posted into the system. Some companies do not implement the digital signature. Some companies which are stricter in the compliance, they want this to be recorded and tracked in the system. So really depends on the design, but SAP is capable on doing such feature. All right. And then now we go back to the display stock overview screen to check on the stock status for this material and batch. So if you notice, this material now has a block status. All right. Initially, when we receive the goods during the initial good receive, it was posted to the quality inspection, and this block status it's updated through the QM module where they have posted all the 10 quantities to the block. Now, because the material is posted to block status, the warehouse can easily run a report to just display all the materials that is in block status, which will then tell them that the material failed in the inspection. All right, and then now they can, based on that report, take it up with the procurement team to see what is the next step that can be done. What is the arrangement that they have with the supplier? Can they scrap it or can they return to the supplier? Okay. Now, before I go further, right, I also like to share that a material can be posted 100% fit for usage by quality personnel. So during the quality inspection screen, right, for the inspection log, the quality personnel can post everything to be unrestricted. Okay. And what it denotes by that was the quality personnel look at the content of the material. They felt that the content is fit for the purpose, but the warehouse who is inspecting from the outer layer of the or the physical layer, physical on condition of the material. Um, if they found any denting on the boxes or the container or any glass which are broken, etc., they can still post a return delivery although the material status is in unrestricted state. Okay. So hence, regardless which situation you are in, a return delivery can be posted. If the material is really required to be returned, then it has to be posted. The only difference is that where do you pick up the material from? And therefore over here, the stock type, we're taking out from block because of this process continuation from the quality management which put into rejection. But in case if the quality management put into unrestricted, you can still do a return, and then your stock type will be taking out from the unrestricted stock status. All right. Now finally, we come back to the display purchase order screen again to look at the purchase order history. What are the documents that was posted? So the return delivery will create a 122 movement type material document. Okay. And now if we double click on it to look at the accounting entries, what do we see? So the accounting entry is nothing but a reversal of the good received entries that was posted earlier. Okay. So the only thing we need to pay attention or take note on is actually the 122 movement type. All right. So a return delivery will post on the 122 movement type. All right. So that sums up the end-to-end process for the material return with the quality management integration. If you like the video and you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. This will truly help me and motivate me to make more great videos for all of you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.